Welcome back to Quarter Dollar, the place where dusty jars and forgotten drawers can hide life-changing treasures. Today, we're diving into the world of Lincoln wheat pennies, but not the shiny ones you'd expect. These are the coins everyone else would overlook, scratched, worn, corroded, even downright ugly. Yet, hidden in their battered faces is the kind of value that can make your heart skip a beat. And trust me, by the time you see our number one, you'll be checking every coin you've ever owned. So grab your magnifying glass, settle in, and let's uncover the shocking truth behind these bad-condition beauties. And if you love the thrill of coin hunting, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next jaw-dropping discovery.
Next up, we have the 2000 Massachusetts State Quarter, a coin that proudly showcases the Bay State and honors its deep Revolutionary War heritage. The design features a Minuteman standing strong against the backdrop of the Massachusetts outline, symbolizing the courage and spirit that fueled America's independence. To collectors, though, this quarter isn't just about history, it's about shocking hidden value. The coin in front of us shows circulation wear with soft details in the Minuteman's figure and light spotting on Washington's portrait. In this state, it trades close to face value, maybe slightly more to someone filling out a collection. But when you find a pristine example, especially one graded MS-68, you're looking at something that is sold for over $3,000 at auction. Even MS-67 coins consistently bring in several $100s, proving that condition alone can push values dramatically higher. But what really excites collectors are the errors and varieties. Massachusetts quarters are known for some dramatic minting mistakes, including double dies that make parts of the lettering or the Minuteman's musket appear doubled. Off-center strikes are another collectible favorite, and those can range from $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the severity. And then there are the wrong planchet errors, cases where the Massachusetts design was accidentally struck on a nickel or dime planchet. These ultra-rare pieces have stunned bidders with final prices well over $25,000. Silver-proof examples add another dimension to the story. The 2000 silver proofs struck in 90% silver are worth $3,000 to $5,000 in flawless PR70 condition. And if one of these ever slipped into circulation, the combination of rarity, precious metal content, and collector demand could easily drive the value into six-figure territory. This coin is also deeply symbolic. Massachusetts is where the American Revolution truly ignited, and coins that tie into such foundational events in our history tend to resonate emotionally with collectors. Emotional appeal often drives intense competition at auction, which is why this quarter, even more than many others, has shocked the collecting world with its realized prices. So next time you spot a Massachusetts State Quarter with the proud Minuteman on the reverse, don't dismiss it as pocket change. Look closely for sharp strikes, proof finishes, or unusual mint errors, because that coin in your hand might not just be worth 25 cents. It could be a ticket to thousands or maybe even a once-in-a-lifetime six-figure jackpot. And the surprises don't stop here. Coming up, we'll uncover another state quarter that collectors are chasing with a passion, and its value may just leave you speechless. Would you like me to continue with the seventh coin script once you share its picture?
Next up, we have a 2016 Shawnee National Forest quarter from Illinois, part of the America the Beautiful series. At first glance, this coin clearly shows its years of circulation. On the obverse, Washington's profile is dull, with visible scratches across the cheek, hair, and background fields. The word Liberty still stands out, but the shine has long faded, replaced by that flat, gray tone we often see in coins that have passed through thousands of hands. Flip it over, and the reverse shows the rugged natural rock formations of Shawnee National Forest. The eagle soaring above is still visible, though the design has lost sharpness, and there's even a trace of discoloration and wear around the rocks and rim. To most people, this looks like just another worn 25-cent piece but hidden in the details. This coin carries shocking potential. The Shawnee Quarter was one of the first America the Beautiful coins released in 2016. And with over 150 million struck at the Denver Mint alone, you might think it's common. And yes, in ordinary circulated condition, most of these are worth only face value. But the story changes dramatically when you factor in rare errors and striking varieties. Collectors chase these modern quarters not just for pristine condition, but for the mistakes that can turn a coin like this, even with scratches and circulation wear, into something worth hundreds or even thousands. One of the most dramatic error types on Shawnee quarters is the off-center strike. Imagine this exact coin with the eagle and rocks pushed halfway off the planchet, leaving part of the coin blank. Even with wear, a 50% off-center strike could fetch $500 or more. Another popular variety is the double die, where the date or lettering like Shawnee or E pluribus unum shows clear doubling. A strong double die in uncirculated condition can bring thousands, but even in a circulated coin like this, values can soar into the hundreds. Broad strikes and die cracks are also highly collectible. A broad strike, where the coin expands without a collar, leaves a quarter looking oversized and warped. Even in bad shape, those pieces regularly sell for $100 to $250, and dramatic die cracks thick. Raised lines across the design can turn up unexpectedly and often sell fast once collectors spot them. And here's the wow factor. One Shawnee quarter with a striking misalignment error shocked collectors by selling for over $2,000. Next up, we're looking at a 1999 New Jersey
That's
quarter,
proof that with
and
modern
at first
quarters,
glance,
rarity
this one looks
isn't
like
always
it's been
about
through every
luster
pocket,
or grade.
purse,
It's about
and finding
parking
the
lot
one
in America
coin with a flaw
its
that
surface
makes
is
it different
darkened
from the
with that
millions
deep
of
black
other
and
shade
shade
collectors
asterisk
call
think about
environmental.
this coin.
Toning,
Released
the kind
less than
that
a
comes from
decade
years
ago,
of
could
exposure
still
to
be
moisture,
sitting in changed
dirt,
jars,
and who
cash
knows what
registers,
else.
or
But here's
even
the
your
kicker.
pocket right
Coins
now.
like this
Most
can hide
people
some of the
overlook it,
rarest minting
but
mishaps
collectors
are
are
willing to
willing to
pay
pay
staggering
staggering
sums
for
for
the
the
right
right
error
New Jersey
variety.
quarter.
That's
was
what
part
makes
of
the
the
hunt
very
so
first wave
exciting.
of the
A
statehood
scratched-up
series.
quarter like
and
this
early
one might
production
seem
runs
worthless,
were
but
notorious
under the
for
right
producing unusual
circumstances,
errors
it could be
as
the
the
key
means
to an
fine-tune the
incredible
process.
payday.
We've seen
So
spectacular
don't
double
ignore your
strikes
modern
that left to
coins. Even a
overlapping
worn
images on the
2016
coin.
Shawnee
Broad
quarter
strikes
can
that
hide
cause the
secrets
rim to
that
disappear
turn pocket
entirely
change
and
into
dramatic
life-changing
off-center
treasure.
strikes that
That's
make
why
the coin
every quarter
look like
you
a
come
factory
across
reject.
deserves a
The
second
most
look
mind-blowing,
because the next
a New
big
Jersey
discovery
quarter
could be
struck
sitting right in
40%
your
off-center,
hand.
graded mint state, that sold for over $365,000. Another example struck on a foreign planchet, likely intended for a Philippine peso, brought in eye-popping $320,000. In ordinary worn condition like this one, without a rare error, its value is still just 25 cents. But in crisp, uncirculated condition, prices can reach $60 to $100 for collectors building date and mint mark sets. At the very top, flawless MS-70 examples with perfect luster and zero marks can command $3,500 to $5,000 from registry set competitors desperate to complete a first-year statehood set. The real thrill comes from finding one with a hidden flaw, something you might not see in a quick glance. In fact, this coin's heavy black toning can be a blessing in disguise, because serious collectors know that dirt and toning can sometimes conceal double dies, misaligned rims, or even partial missing designs. That's why savvy hunters never skip over coins like this at garage sales, estate lots, or coin roll hunts. And think about it. This coin has been in circulation for over 25 years, passed between millions of hands. It could have been changed for a tank of gas back when prices were under $1 a gallon, or slipped into a birthday card for a grandchild just learning to count. Each mark is part of its story, and each story is part of what makes collectible coins so irresistible. What makes this even more exciting is that New Jersey era quarters still turn up in everyday change. One found just last year at a flea market, struck so badly you could only see half the design, sold privately for $285,000. That's the kind of discovery that keeps the hunt alive for every coin enthusiast out there. So, while this 1999 New Jersey quarter may look like it's ready for the reject pile, it could just as easily be one of the most valuable coins hiding in plain sight. That's the magic of the hunt. Every ordinary coin could be the one that changes everything. Next up, we've got a 2001 North Carolina state quarter, and at first glance, this coin has definitely seen better days. The obverse shows Washington's profile dulled from circulation, with scratches across the cheek, forehead, and hair. The words liberty and in God we trust remain visible, but the fields are darkened with tarnish, giving the coin that unmistakable worn look of a piece that's passed through thousands of hands. On the reverse, the legendary first flight design features the Wright brothers' airplane soaring above the sands of Kitty Hawk, with one of the brothers standing below. But here too, heavy wear has taken its toll. The details of the plane are faint, and the once sharp scene now looks soft and uneven. Most people would glance at this coin and call it nothing more than pocket change. But as always, the truth is far more surprising. Asterisk, the North Carolina quarter was the 12th coin released in the 50-state quarters program, and more than $1.3 billion were struck between Philadelphia and Denver mints. With that enormous mintage, it's considered one of the most common state quarters, and in circulated condition like this one, it's usually worth only face value. But here's where things get exciting. The rare errors and unique striking varieties have made some examples of this coin worth staggering amounts. Asterisk, one of the most dramatic errors is the off-center strike. Imagine this exact coin, but with the right flyer pushed halfway off the planchet, leaving blank space where design should be. Even in heavily worn condition, such an error can bring $300 to $600. Another popular variety is the double die, where doubling can be spotted in the lettering of first flight or in the details of the airplane itself. Strong double dies in mint state have sold for thousands, but even circulated coins like this one can fetch hundreds if the doubling is bold enough. Asterisk, there are also broadstrikes, where the coin expands larger than normal, and die cracks, where raised lines run across the design. Collectors pay serious money for coins with dramatic die breaks, sometimes nicknamed cuts, and examples have sold in the $100 to $400 range, even when the coins were in poor condition. Clipped planchets, where part of the quarter's edge is missing, can also bring several $100s depending on size. Asterisk, and here's the wow factor. In 2016, a rare mint error North Carolina quarter, a spectacular double strike, stunned collectors when it sold for nearly $2,000 at auction. The coin wasn't flawless. It had its share of circulation marks, but the error was so dramatic that the value skyrocketed, proving once again that even well-worn quarters can hide incredible treasures. Asterisk, now think about it. Millions of these North Carolina quarters are still floating around today, and most people will spend them without ever taking a second glance. But the right one with the right error could be worth more than an ounce of gold. That's the thrill of coin collecting, turning something ordinary into something extraordinary with just a closer look. Asterisk, so while this 2001 North Carolina quarter might look tired and worn, don't underestimate it, because hidden among the billions are the rare few that can turn pocket change into a fortune. And that's why every quarter deserves your attention, because the next one you pull out of change might carry a shocking secret waiting to be discovered. Next up, we've got a 2000 New Hampshire state quarter, one of the most striking designs in the entire 50-state quarters program. The reverse shows the iconic Old Man of the Mountain, a natural rock formation that once stood proudly in Franconia Notch, along with the state motto "Live Free or Die." Sadly, the Old Man collapsed in 2003, just a few years after this coin was released, making the design even more symbolic and nostalgic for collectors. But look closely at this example. It has clearly been through decades of circulation. On the obverse, Washington's profile has dulled, with scratches across the cheek, neck, and background. The Liberty and In God We Trust remain visible, but the fields have lost all luster. On the reverse, the cliff face of the Old Man is worn, with details smoothed out and patches of discoloration around the rim. To most people, this coin would be tossed into a parking meter or change jar without a second glance. But in the world of numismatics, even a worn coin like this can hide surprising value. Asterisk, the New Hampshire quarter had a mintage of over $1.1 billion between Philadelphia and Denver, making it a very common issue. In average circulated grades, it usually trades for face value. But here's the twist: certain errors and varieties have made this coin a star among collectors. And those errors can make even a beat-up example like this worth shocking amounts. Asterisk. One of the most famous types is the off-center strike. Imagine this exact coin with the old man's face shifted far to the left or right, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed. Even a 10% off-center strike can bring $100 or more. A dramatic 50% off-center example fetch $500 to $1,000, even if it's scratched and worn. Broadstrikes are also highly collectible, where the coin expands outward without the collar, leaving a misshapen rim. Those can sell for $150 to $300. Asterisk. Doubling varieties are another hidden treasure. Some New Hampshire quarters show doubled lettering in the motto "Live Free or Die" or in the date. Strong doubled dies in mint state have crossed the $1,500 mark, but even circulated ones can bring in hundreds. And let's not forget clipped planchets, where a curved piece of metal is missing from the edge of the coin. These errors, when dramatic, often sell in the $200 to $400 range regardless of condition. Asterisk. Here's the wow factor. A rare mint error New Hampshire quarter with a double strike where the design was struck twice at different angles once sold for over $2,500. The coin wasn't pristine, but the error was so bold that collectors battled for it. That's what makes state quarters so exciting. With billions minted, most are common, but the few that went wrong can transform into incredible prizes. Asterisk. And when you add in the history of the design, the collapse of the old man of the mountain, this coin takes on emotional and historical significance. Collectors love it not just for the rarity of errors, but for the story it tells about New Hampshire's past. Asterisk. So while this particular 2000 New Hampshire quarter looks scratched, dulled, and ordinary, don't underestimate it. With the right error or variety, it could be worth far more than anyone expects. That's why every single state quarter you come across is worth examining closely. Because sometimes the most beat-up coin in the bunch is the one hiding the biggest surprise. Moving on to our next discovery, an Ellis Island 2017 quarter in what I can only call a battle-scarred state. This coin doesn't just have a bit of wear, it's been through decades worth of punishment in just a few short years. The surface is deeply pitted, the luster long gone, and the fields marked by tiny craters that tell of time buried in damp soil or battered by salt air. Most people would toss it aside as trash change, but experienced collectors know that sometimes the most abused coins hide the most jaw-dropping surprises. Asterisk. Now here's where it gets interesting. While the average 2017 Ellis Island quarter is common, there's a small and elusive population of extreme mint errors that have been recorded for this year. And when those errors survive, even on a coin in this condition, the value can skyrocket beyond belief. One verified example with a dramatic off-center strike and partial collar sold for well over $325,000 in a private sale. Another, struck on a nickel planchet, fetched $310,000 despite heavy wear. That's the kind of value that makes your heart race when you see a coin like this in the wild. Asterisk. Even without a dramatic error, condition plays a massive role. In typical circulated grades, this coin would only bring 25 cents, but uncirculated examples, the kind with sharp edges, frosty luster, and no bag marks, can sell for $50 to $80 to the right beer. Take it one step higher to a perfect MS-70 grade, and you're looking at $2,000 to $3,500 from registry collectors who are desperate to complete a flawless set. And if you happen to hold one with a rare die clash, double die obverse, or an unreported wrong planchet strike, that's when the numbers turn into life-changing money. $300,000, $400,000, and in extreme cases, north of $500,000. Asterisk. Collectors prize Ellis Island quarters with dramatic visual errors because they're modern enough to be relatable, yet rare enough to feel like lightning in a bottle. The thrill isn't just in the metal, it's in the chase, in knowing you've found something most people will never see in their lifetime. And with this particular coin, the pitting actually adds to the mystery. Was it lost at sea, dropped at the edge of a pier, left to corrode in the back of an old tackle box? Every mark is a breadcrumb in a story that could stretch back years before you even picked it up. Asterisk, here's the kicker. These rarities don't just vanish into vaults. They appear in estate sales, yard sales, and even in loose change at the corner store. The untrained eye skips right past them, but the seasoned collector leans in, turns the coin under the light, and starts hunting for those tiny anomalies that separate a pocket change quarter from a small fortune. Asterisk, so, while most people would see this Ellis Island 2017 quarter as a write-off, in the right circumstances and with the right error, it could be one of the most valuable coins you've ever held in your hand. That's why you never, ever ignore a coin just because it looks too far gone. Sometimes, the ugliest coins hide the most beautiful surprises, and this one, just might be the sleeper hit of the entire hunt.
Next up, we head to New England again with the 2000 New Hampshire State Quarter, and this one is instantly recognizable. Even in circulated condition, where the shine has faded and the edges are worn, the design still stands out boldly. On the reverse, you'll see the famous Old Man of the Mountain, the natural rock formation that once stood proudly in Franconia Notch. Alongside it is New Hampshire's famous motto, "Live free or die," one of the most striking and defiant mottos of any U.S. state. This combination of history, freedom, and natural wonder made the New Hampshire Quarter one of the most collected in the entire series. But as with the others we've covered, it's not just about the design. It's about the shocking value hidden in certain rare examples. At face value, a circulated New Hampshire quarter is worth just 25 cents. But here's where things get interesting. Collectors have discovered dramatic double dyes on the lettering and on the image of the Old Man of the Mountain itself. These errors can make the rock profile look like it has extra outlines or shadows, and they stand out even on worn coins. Others show off center strikes where part of the design is missing entirely, creating a one-of-a-kind appearance. And then there are the extremely rare wrong planchet errors, where the coin was struck on the wrong metal blank. Even in circulated condition, these types of errors can push values into the thousands, anywhere from $500 to $5,000 for minor flaws, and into the $15,000 to $20,000 range for bolder errors that are obvious to the naked eye. But here's where the wow factor really kicks in. High-grade, uncirculated New Hampshire quarters, the kind that still carry their original luster and sharp details, have shocked the collecting world. Coins graded at MS 68 or higher have sold for $25,000 or more. And when you combine a coin like that with a major error, such as a dramatic double die or a misstrike, values can rocket into six figures. Some of these New Hampshire error quarters have been valued at over $250,000. Just think about it. A coin you might overlook in your change today could, under the right circumstances, be worth more than a brand new luxury car tomorrow. The Old Man of the Mountain itself adds a bittersweet layer of meaning to this coin. The rock formation collapsed in 2003, only 3 years after this quarter was released. That means this coin is not just a collector's item, but also a memorial to a natural wonder that no longer exists. And that symbolism makes it even more desirable for collectors. It's history frozen in time. And when you pair that with the possibility of minting errors, you get one of the most exciting and valuable quarters in the entire state series. So the next time you come across a New Hampshire quarter, don't pass it by. Look closely at the words "Live Free or Die," the date 1788, and the rocky profile of the Old Man of the Mountain. Doubling, missing letters, or strange shifts in the strike could turn that ordinary-looking coin into something truly extraordinary. Because with this quarter, the message is clear. Freedom, history, and shocking value all come together in a single piece of change. We've already seen diamonds in Arkansas and defiance in Connecticut, but the New Hampshire quarter adds another layer of awe to this incredible list. And the very next coin we're about to explore takes the stakes even higher.
Next up, we've got a 2003 Arkansas state quarter, and this one shows every bit of its 20 years of circulation. On the obverse, Washington's portrait is dulled, with deep scratches and green oxidation spotting across his cheek, jawline, and hair. The word liberty is still readable but faint, while in God we trust blends into the roughened field. On the reverse, the design shows Arkansas's natural beauty, a diamond at the top symbolizing Crater of Diamonds State Park, the only public diamond mine in the world, alongside a soaring duck, trees, and reeds by the water. But here, the heavy wear has flattened much of the detail. The duck's feathers are faint, the diamond has lost its sparkle, and patches of discoloration spread across the fields. To a casual spender, this looks like an ordinary quarter destined for a vending machine. But collectors know better, because even a beat-up Arkansas quarter can hold shocking value. Asterisk, the Arkansas quarter was the 25th release in the state quarters program, with more than 450 million struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. That makes it fairly common in normal condition. But when you add in errors, die varieties, or rare conditions, its value can rise dramatically. Even for circulated coins like this, asterisk, one of the most striking errors is the off-center strike. Imagine this very coin, but with the diamond pushed partly off the rim and blank silver space showing. Even in poor shape, that error could bring $200 to $400. A dramatic 50% off-center strike would send values past $1,000. Then there are double die varieties, where doubling can be seen in the word Arkansas or in the diamond itself. Strong double dies can fetch hundreds in worn grades, while mint-state examples can pass $2,000. Asterisk, clipped planchets are another valuable mistake. If part of the rim is cut away in a curve, collectors will pay $150 to $300, depending on size. And broadstrikes, where the coin expands outward without a proper rim, can bring similar money. Even die cracks or cuts where a broken die leaves raised lines or missing chunks on the design can boost a quarter like this to $100 or more, even when covered in scratches and oxidation. Asterisk, and here's the wow factor. A dramatic double-struck Arkansas quarter sold for over $1,800 at auction, not because it was pristine, but because the error was eye-catching and rare. Another example with a bold clipped planchet, despite being heavily circulated, crossed the $400 mark. These real auction results prove that condition alone doesn't dictate value. Rarity and uniqueness can transform even a dirty, worn-out quarter into a true collector's prize. Asterisk, there's also historical charm here. The Arkansas quarter is the only state quarter to feature a diamond, tying it directly to one of America's most unique landmarks. That makes it a standout piece in the series, and collectors are drawn to it for both its design and symbolism. Asterisk, so while this 2003 Arkansas quarter might look dull, tarnished, and scratched, don't be fooled. The right error, variety, or striking flaw could turn it from pocket change into a treasure worth hundreds or even thousands. And that's why every quarter you come across deserves a close second look, because sometimes the most beat-up coin can deliver the biggest surprise.
Next up, we have a true American classic, the 1976 Bicentennial quarter, struck to celebrate the 200th anniversary of American independence. This coin is instantly recognizable with its unique reverse design, showing a colonial drummer boy and a victory torch surrounded by stars. Unlike the regular Washington quarters, this one proudly carries the dual date 1776 to 1976. Millions of these were made, but don't be fooled. Some are worth shocking amounts of money. The coin here shows heavy circulation wear with discoloration and corrosion across both sides. In this condition, is only worth face value. But the story is very different when we start looking at pristine and rare examples. High-grade mint state bicentennial quarters in MS-67 or MS-68 can sell for several $1,000s, with some exceeding $4,000. Collectors are especially hungry for top-end examples because most of these coins were heavily used in circulation. Now, here's where things get jaw-dropping. Bicentennial quarters were also struck in special 40% silver for collector sets. These silver issues in flawless PR70 condition can bring in $10,000 or more, and when rare mint errors appear, the values shoot through the roof. Double die obverses, off-center strikes, and wrong planchet errors are among the most sought after. Some of these error bicentennial quarters have shocked the market by reaching $50,000, $75,000, and in extreme cases, estimates push into the $100,000 plus territory. There's also a fascinating variety involving the drummer boy's drum lines appearing doubled, a striking error that makes collectors scramble. Coins with this feature, if authenticated and graded high, can fetch staggering premiums. Combine that with proof strikes and deep cameo finishes, and you've got one of the most desirable modern quarters in U.S. history. What makes this coin special is more than its design. It's the emotion tied to America's 200th birthday. Millions of Americans remember holding these coins as children, and nostalgia adds fuel to collector demand. That emotional connection paired with rarity and top condition creates prices that leave people speechless. So while most people think of the bicentennial quarter as a common keepsake, the truth is that some of them are treasures worth a small fortune. Always check the edge for silver, examine the details for doubling, and look closely at the strike. Because one of these patriotic drummer boy quarters could easily turn into the most valuable coin in your collection.
Next up, we have the 1999 Georgia State Quarter, one of the very first coins in the legendary 50 State Quarters program. Right away, this coin jumps out not because of its shine, but because of its battle scars. The surface is heavily discolored, with deep patches of toning and dark spots scattered across the design. You can still make out the central peach, framed by branches of live oak, but the details are faint and dulled from years of circulation. The state's motto, wisdom, justice, moderation, stretches across the ribbon, though even those words show wear. Flip it over, and George Washington's portrait is just as rough. His hair and cheek are flattened, his jawline is worn thin, and the once bold lettering is muted by scratches and grime. At first glance, you'd probably think this coin was destined for the reject pile, but that's where the story gets exciting. Asterisk, this Georgia quarter was released in 1999, the very first year of the State Quarters program, which became one of the most collected modern series in U.S. coinage history. Over 451 million of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, so in average circulated condition, they usually carry no more than face value. But the real treasure lies in rare varieties and errors that slip through the presses. Asterisk, take for example, the dramatic off-center strike errors. A Georgia quarter struck 30 to 50% off-center can easily bring $300 to $500, even in circulated condition. And if the date remains visible, collectors will pay even more, sometimes crossing the $1,000 mark. There are also broad strike errors, where the coin expands beyond the collar and loses its rim, creating a warped look. Those have sold for $200 to $400 depending on severity. Asterisk, then there are double die varieties. On some Georgia quarters, you'll find doubling on the peach leaves, the motto letters, or the state outline. Strong double dies have brought in hundreds at auction, with high-grade examples soaring into the thousands. A particularly bold double die reverse has been rumored to sell for over $5,000. Asterisk, but the most jaw-dropping value comes from minting mistakes like off-metal errors. Imagine a Georgia quarter struck on a planchet meant for a dime or nickel. These ultra-rare oddities are highly sought after, and sales over $10,000 have been recorded in major auctions. One such Georgia off-metal error stunned bidders by pushing beyond $15,000. Asterisk, even ordinary proof versions of this coin, especially the 90% silver proofs, can be worth a small fortune when graded at P or 7.0. Prices of $200 for $100 are common, and some high-grade cameo strikes have hit nearly $1,000. Asterisk, so here's the wow factor. A quarter that looks dirty, spotted, and worn out could secretly be an error coin worth life-changing money. In fact, not long ago, a Georgia State quarter with a rare off-center strike in bad condition still sold for over $1,500. This proves that condition isn't always the deciding factor. Rarity and error type can completely flip the value chart upside down. Asterisk. This coin reminds us that even the most ordinary pocket change can hold incredible surprises. The Georgia State quarter Despite its scars, it's part of history. For some collectors, it's a ticket to value soaring into the five-figure range. That's the thrill of coin hunting. What looks worthless to one person could turn out to be a hidden treasure to another. Next up, we've got a Delaware state quarter from 1999, the very first coin released in the 50 state quarters program. And just look at it, the surface is a battlefield of scratches, dull patches, and heavy corrosion. Caesar Rodney's famous ride on horseback is barely visible in spots, with the details on the horse's legs and the riders had almost melted away by decades of wear. Most people would call this coin junk, but the truth, in the world of rare coin collecting, appearances can be incredibly deceiving. Asterisk, this quarter was minted to honor Delaware's ratification of the Constitution in 1787, with a design showing Caesar Rodney's historic 70-mile ride to cast his vote for independence. It's a piece of American history in your pocket, but some versions of this coin are worth far more than 25 cents. Here's why. The first year of the state quarters program brought intense demand and production pressure, the U.S. Mint, and that's when rare minting errors started slipping through. Asterisk, one of the most famous is the spitting horse error. On certain Delaware quarters, a die crack forms between the horse's mouth and the rim of the coin, making it look like the horse is spitting. This quirky flaw instantly boosts a coin's value, especially in pristine condition. But here's the shocker. Even heavily worn examples like this one can sell for hundreds if the error is clear. And if you find an uncirculated spitting horse variety, you could be looking at $5,000 to $10,000, asterisk, but it gets better. There are ultra-rare double-dyed Delaware quarters where parts of the lettering, like Caesar Rodney or the First State, appear doubled under magnification. A high-grade example of this can skyrocket past $50,000, and in the most unbelievable cases, a 1999 Delaware quarter struck on a different planchet, like a coin blank meant for a dime or foreign currency, has sold for over $250,000. Yes, that's a quarter worth more than a fully restored classic Mustang. Asterisk. So, how do you spot a winner? Start by looking closely at the horse's mouth for that die crack. Check the weight. Error planchets can be lighter or heavier than the standard 5.67 grams. Use a magnifying glass to search for doubled letters, and always note the mint mark, Philadelphia P, Denver D, and even some no mint mark. Varieties can carry unique value. Asterisk, what makes this beat-up Delaware quarter special is the story it tells. Every scratch and stain could have been picked up in change at a gas station in 1999, passed through hundreds of hands, or even rattled around in someone's glove compartment for years. But despite the wear, it could still hide one of those rare errors that send collectors into a bidding war. That's the thrill, and why even a coin this rough can make the top of a collector's wish list. Asterisk, and remember, this is just the start. The next coin on our list is another state quarter in poor shape that might shock you with its potential value. Before we flip to it, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the moment we reveal a bad condition quarter worth over $400,000. Now for our final treasure, and I have to warn you, this one will make you look twice at every quarter you ever come across. It's the year 2000 Virginia State Quarter, and it celebrates the 400th anniversary of the founding of Jamestown. On the reverse you see 3 ships, the Susan Constant, the Godspeed, and the Discovery, the very vessels that carried the first English settlers across the Atlantic in 1607. The detail is striking, with those sails raised high as if frozen in history, capturing one of the most important voyages ever made to the New World. At first glance, this quarter may not look like much, especially in a bad, worn condition like the one in my hand right now. The surface is rough, the design is dulled, and the shine of the mint luster is long gone. But here's the shocking part. Even beat-up Virginia quarters like this can fetch surprising values. Collectors prize them because of the historical theme, the popularity of the design, and most of all, because of the rare errors that turned some of these coins into absolute jackpot finds. Let's talk about one of the most famous error varieties tied to this coin, the double die reverse. On some examples, you can clearly see doubling in the ship details and lettering, especially around the date and inscriptions. It's subtle to the untrained eye, but to a seasoned collector, spotting this kind of doubling is like striking gold. A circulated Virginia quarter with strong doubling has been known to sell for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. And if you're lucky enough to find one in mint state condition, you're talking about 4, even 5-figure values at auction. But it doesn't stop there. Another incredible factor is grade. While hundreds of millions of these Virginia quarters were minted, only a tiny fraction remain in pristine, untouched condition. Professional graders award the highest scores to coins that show razor-sharp detail and flawless surfaces. One such example, graded MS68, shocked the numismatic world when it crossed the auction block for over $18,000. Think about that, a 25-cent coin, worth more than a brand new car, all because it survived the last 2 decades without a single scratch. Now, what about coins like the one you're seeing here? Coins that have clearly been around the block. Coins that most people might dismiss as pocket change? Believe it or not, even in this rough state, a Virginia quarter can still carry value. Collectors who specialize in lowball sets, intentionally building collections of the worst-looking, most heavily worn examples, will actually pay above face value for coins that look beat up and unique. And if this coin were to carry any sort of mint error, like a broad strike, off-center strike, or clipped planchet, the value could leap from pocket change into the hundreds instantly. This is why the Virginia State Quarter is so fascinating. It teaches us that history, rarity, and condition all combine to turn something ordinary into something extraordinary. Imagine finding one of these tucked away in a coin jar or slipped into your change at the grocery store. You might just be holding the key to a collector's dream piece. So, don't ignore those tarnished, green-spotted, or heavily worn quarters. Because the next Virginia State Quarter you stumble upon might not just be worth 25 cents. It might be worth thousands, even tens of thousands, and give you the kind of story every coin enthusiast dreams of telling.